Fourth day. All right, can you guys see I'm psyched?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, I'm psyched. All right, look. We've been going deeper and deeper, okay? Deeper down the rabbit hole here, all right? And what this program has been about, like I said before, this is not designed to be ego-based learning, all right? Like I said, ego-based learning is like, okay, I have to know, like, okay, I want to learn how to be good with women. There's all these different, tidbits of information out there that I have to learn before I can feel confident to go out, all right? Do you guys remember how we talked about, the different pillars in your reality and whatnot? Well, for a lot of guys, isn't it funny, just having read all of the how to get girls theory, for them when they walk up to a girl, they feel like that's what makes them good at getting girls. That is like where they get their confidence from. It's like, I've been through all this. And then maybe they think, oh, well, there's this other piece of information I don't have yet. Maybe I'm not ready to be good with girls before I have that piece of information. What this program is about, it's a little bit of a different approach than that. At least that's my intention for it. How you take it is up to you. But the way that I intended it to be taken was it's like we start off over here at social conditioning, and then we move over here towards a place of self-esteem, authenticity, that kind of thing, all right? And so everything that I've been talking about here in this sort of immersion, this 4-day immersion, has been designed to give you little signposts to move you there, all right? To move you over there. So what that basically means is like, when you think of why we do this for 4 days, because, this program for me is like an accordion. I could do a 1-hour version. I could do a 10-day version. The reason why we do a nice 4-day-long program is so that you have taken 4 days out of your time for a full immersion, all right? You have been surrounded by it. All of your peers in this group are immersed in it, all right? And it's funny because this is almost like our reality right now. Like, this is my reality. I feel like I've been here forever, right? Like, my whole life is like being at this seminar. That's how it feels right now. And it's funny because this seminar, this is the 4th day, it will come to an end, right? And it will be like this sort of blur in your mind, like these like intense 4 days of like, self-examination. And there'll be a couple things that you remember out of it, maybe, like a couple sort of key pieces that you remember out of it. But what I want you to get out of it more than anything is like that vibe, all right? Like that feeling in your body. If you could just get that out of it, all right? Like that drawing state from within, that feeling good, and seeing the depth in things, to me that would be like just the most incredibly massive success that I could have hoped for in doing this, all right? So let's keep going more, down the path and towards that path. We've been talking a lot about internalization, all right? And so what internalization means is when you have something on a level where you never have to think about it ever again, all right? And remember, we talked about the theme for this program, deep identity level change, all right? That's really what we've shaped real social dynamics to be about, right? Our sort of like easy to grasp identity is deep identity level change, all right? And that's what I'm looking for here, all right? That's why our other program is called transformations, okay? Our programs are not typically called like, how to, get hosts in different area codes, or like how to, how to have like, be a big pimp or whatever. It's like, if you look at like the way that I've entitled these programs for you guys is like, foundations, transformations, the blueprint, right? Things like that, like that's kind of, even with, like say the Jeffy show, for example, like that's sort of like an expression of Jeffy's life and the almost absurd nature of that, all right? That's the kind of stuff that, the kind of directions that I just love to see people thinking in, so that's why we do it like that. But in terms of internalization, look, we talked yesterday about these success barriers, okay? So we have success barriers. We all have a fear of our own success because things will change. Our friends might not like us anymore. Our bearings will not make sense anymore, all right? We have certain bearings of how the world works, and when we move beyond, right? Remember that little place in the totem pole? When we move up, our world stops making sense, all right? It forces us to have to think more. It forces us to have to learn the ins and outs of a new lifestyle, all right? Because if you think about it, look, what are some of these new ins and outs? All right, so let's come up with your most utterly ego-based fantasy of what it would be like to be awesome with women. All right, let's just think about this now. Let's have fun with it. All right, maybe you know the kind of jokes like the giant purple pillow, just surrounded by a harem of gorgeous women of different shapes and sizes and colors and stuff like that, all super hot, just feeding you grapes and massaging you and rubbing oil on your body and eating whipped cream off of each other. All right, okay, right? Can you guys, anyone have any more they want to throw out there? Did I just nail it, or did I nail it? Okay, all right. Okay, so look, when you think about that, it sounds great. And in many ways, the entire, success with women industry is fueled by that sort of desire that guys have. It sounds great, but let's say, ask ourselves, what if you got it? What if we got it, right? What if you had that? Would you be ready to handle that? Well, there's certain psychological factors that are at work here. All right, so you guys know how we say that success barriers are bad? You guys have all heard that, right? Yeah. Success barriers are bad. Okay? We hate success barriers. We must blow through all success barriers. Why would our minds have something that's bad?
Protect you.
Yeah. What is it, and what's it protecting you from?
Context. From something. The
useful within a context. What's that?
The unknown.
The unknown.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The stuff your mind thinks you may not be able to handle.
Yeah. Might not be able to handle it. You might be put into paralysis. Remember we spoke yesterday about how if you're always looking at different belief systems all the time and you're not cemented in some kind of reality, you would just be in total disarray. What would happen if you got put in a position of being the president or prime minister?
Everybody's on you.
Everybody's on you, right? How much criticism does George Bush take? Right? You know what I'm saying? Okay. Let's say that you don't like George Bush. Say that you like Clinton. How much criticism did Clinton take? How do you guys like it when you find out some of your friends have been trash-talking you behind your backs? Do you like that?
No.
How would you feel if there's entire channels dedicated to ripping on you? Okay? Right? And there's do you know what it's like to be high profile? Think about this. You've got people, comedians that are imitating you for a living. Think about what this is like, okay? Taking your mannerisms, imitating you for a living, okay? You've got political satire magazines tooling your policies. You've got the media. You do this some great interview, right? You do an amazing interview, and the media takes some little clip of it out of context, prints a massive headline, and tries to represent you in whatever way they think will sell newspapers. Okay? You also, that's more like the ego-based stuff. How about the fact that you're just responsible for the whole friggin' country? How about that one? All right? See, we look at our leaders and we're very quick to criticize, And I can probably look at any leader and just run them into the ground and criticize. But at the same time, maybe, there should be a level of empathy there. Because look, the kind of social pressure that these guys are dealing with, the way that their reality has to be set up to be under that kind of a spotlight, the way that their mind has to be prepared for that, to be able to function well, to make the right decisions, even if other people don't like it, but they know that it's the right decision, those kinds of things. They have to be groomed for that almost from a young age, right? They have to have at some point in their life said, I'm going to be a leader, and have started to groom their minds and their day-to-day behaviors to go in that kind of a direction. So how about as a guy who would have the giant purple pillow and the sort of Greek-style harem of feeding you grapes and whatnot? Is it as simple as that? Do you just get all these girls on you and that's it? Right? Real simple, right? You just got all these girls on you and you just kind of lie there in bliss forever and that's your life. Is that how? No, that's not how it works. First of all, coming from the most basic of basics, say that those women are giving you congruence tests all the time. Because attractive women will tend to do that. If you're not centered in your reality, that's going to start to mess with you, right? That's starting to mess with your head. How about if the girl is more attractive and is more attractive than you perceive yourself as being? Let's say that you perceive yourself as being this attractive, and you perceive her as being this attractive. Well, now all of a sudden you're nervous. You're outcome dependent around her, and if you think that you're going to lose her, that might cause a lot of pain. Right? If your unconscious mind understands that you'd be devastated by being broken up with, What's it going to do to protect you?
Try to keep it together.
Yeah, try to keep you together, and also success bears. Maybe even put you in a situation where you wouldn't even get the relationship in the first place.
Yeah, sabotage.
Yeah, self-sabotage. Okay, your unconscious mind will do that. What else? What else? How about this? Do you think that other guys are cool with it when you've got the big harem?
No.
You've got a bunch of the, as I was kind of joking about yesterday, the wandering nomad type guys trying to get in on there and get his seed up in there. All right? Okay? As is the bizarre human nature. So, if you really think about it, how about jealousy? Have you guys ever felt jealous towards a girl that you're dating?
Yeah.
What if you've got a big group of women and they're super attractive? Okay, who here has ever dated like a super attractive woman who gets hit on 50 to 100 times a day? Anyone ever done that? Right? And does she come home and sort of like tell you these stories about guys that approach her on the street? Or maybe like you check her MySpace and there's all these orbiter chodes that are all like giving her little text messages. Hey, what's up? Hey, good to see you at the club. That kind of stuff. All right? How about the guy that's, oh yeah, I'm all into like, this kind of music. Hey, you should come check this out. Right? And she's like, what? She's like, I have friends. What? I want to go check out his music, blah, blah, right? And of course, that's like the smoothest type of guy there is, right? Those are the guys that are going to hook up with your girlfriend. So the thing is, right? It's not that cheesy guy who's like, yo, what's up, girl, right? That's not the guy you got to worry about. It's like the laid back dude who's just totally cool about it, all right? So the thing is like, as a guy, when you have success with women, you have continually all these other dudes that are like, vying for your girls, all right? Have you guys who had attractive girlfriends ever have guys that hated on you because they knew that you were her boyfriend?
Yeah.
Okay? So you've got haters, you've got people that want your position, all right? When you're a prime minister or a president of a country, all these other people want your position. And it's like, remember like when you're a kid and you play like the king of the castle game and these like other kids are trying to pull you off so they can get up there and then they're like, now I'm the king of the castle, and someone pulls him off? When you're in any kind of position of high status, no matter what it is, your world is going to go into disarray. So a lot of the concepts that we've been speaking about this weekend are the kind of concepts that allow you to center yourself and to be in that type of position with ease. All right? Because you want to know something? Let me tell you the God's honest truth. Being in a position of high status, once you understand it, is easy. It's no more difficult than being in a position of low status. In fact, once you've completely come into alignment with it, it's actually easier than being of low status and dealing with all the self-hate and mediocrity that goes with that. It's getting there and dealing with, the headaches of all this new social pressure. That's the difficult point, and that's where the success barriers come in. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, I want to learn how to get that perfect 10. But you've got to ask yourself, could I even emotionally handle that? Who here has ever got a phone number of a girl that you really, really liked, and then you were nervous to call? Ever had that? Oh, yeah. It's that same factor. If you're on a level where you're even nervous to call that girl, how are you going to feel when you're dating her? Right? You're thinking you want to date her, right? You're nervous. You're like, oh, I'd really love to be dating this girl. But at the same time, if you're nervous to even call her on the phone, are you really emotionally ready to be dating her? Right? Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm not saying that at all. In fact, I would say just the opposite. If you're nervous to call a girl on the phone who's super attractive, you should call her anyway. You should try to date her, see if it works. Sooner or later, you will get a great girl, and then deal with all the nonsense that comes with that. And you know what you learn? You go, well, yeah, a lot of nonsense did come with it, and I acted like a dumbass, and I learned from it. All right? That's what's going to happen. I mean, for me personally, I had to screw up several relationships with different girls by making complete dumbass out of myself before I learned to just chill out, right? Before I hit a level where like my girlfriend can come home and be like, oh, this guy was talking to me and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, oh, that's nice, cool, right? And I just don't even care about it. I just get on with my day. I had to learn from that nonsense, all right? I would encourage you guys to go out and make mistakes, okay? Go out and make mistakes. Go out and learn lessons. I'm not saying you should try to make mistakes, but put yourself in a position where mistakes might occur. And if they don't occur, then that's good too. All right, so that's what a success barrier is. That's why you may feel, blocked. All right? That's what these unconscious barriers are. And isn't it kind of funny that with all of these unconscious barriers in place, and they're massive, that guys will come into a program about success with women hoping to come out just fixed immediately, right? Fix me. Okay, isn't that like, that's like the classic magic pill desire of the newbie? Like, I thought that I would just get fixed and you could fix me, right? And that's the thing. The concepts that we're talking about here, how do you get good with them, all right? We've talked about these concepts this weekend. Look, we talked about being in the moment. Does that mean that you necessarily went out last night and like, ooh, I learned that I need to be in the moment. It's all fixed now. The problem's solved. Thanks. It's not like that. But the point is that by learning about it, what we've done is we planted a seed. So maybe you go out tonight and you're stuck in your head and then you screw something up and then you go, oh, yeah, that doesn't serve me. That's not a behavior that helps me. That doesn't serve me. But then maybe later you become more, as we said, self-forgetting, right? And you're more in the moment and then it works amazing. And then you go, oh, yeah, okay, right? And then say that you have that knowledge and it's in your mind for, say, a year. Well, after a year, the amount of time that you spend fuddling around scattered in your head versus the amount of time that you're in that nice zone that you want to be in, the ratio will slowly start to tilt more in your favor. Look, even if you're only in the right zone 5% of the time, and by next year you're in that right zone 10% of the time, you've doubled it. So be happy, right? Maybe within 5 years you'll be there half the time. It just, this stuff takes time. And by the way, just as a sort of side tangent to that, you guys might think that getting to your destination is so great and that all the stuff that you go through to get there is like a problem. That's not really true. You know what I'm saying? Like, life, that's not what life is about, right? Life is about moving towards that sort of, core self and that authenticity. And the journey that you take to get there, that's the journey. That's meant to be enjoyed, all right? So even if it's difficult to get there, that's fine. That's your life, right? That's your life. That's totally fine. As much as I would love to snap my fingers and just be the man that I want to be someday, I wouldn't change the fact that there's a journey to get there, all right? So look, here's where things get kind of Jedi-like, all right? You guys ever watch the movie Return of the Jedi? Yeah. You like it? Yeah. Yeah? Which one's who here, his favorite one is Star Wars? Put up your hand, the first one. Who here likes number 2 the best? Who here likes number 3 the best? Just curious. All right, so it's about half split between number 2 and number 3. I used to like number 2 the best, but now I like number 3 the best. All right, so I'm kind of a nerd. Do you guys remember the part where Luke says, he's like, what does he do at the start of it? He says, he's like, you will let me in, or something like that. What does he say? Yeah. Any hardcore nerds here? What does he say to them? Yeah, like he says, yeah. He's like, what's that? Yes, your master will be pleased with you. These are not the droids you're looking for. All right? And he's like, yes. Okay? That's kind of a funny one. I think okay. Between that and the movie The Matrix, you know the movie The Matrix where Neo, if he believes that he can jump over the building, he'll jump. But if he doubts it for even 1 second, he falls to the ground? I think that both of those movies connect with all guys on some level, doesn't it? Yeah. Right? On some level, right? Whether you want to admit it or not, you see that, you're like, yeah, there's something there, man, right? There's something about that. And the reason why, as guys, we connect with that is because we've all had those, like, Neo in the Matrix moments or, Jedi moments where we had that total belief. And maybe it was something as simple as just like, someone went along with something that you wanted to do. Maybe you're at a party and you said, let's go over here, and everyone was just totally into it. Or maybe it was like with a girl, all right, where you just totally led the situation with full belief. And, to me, what's glorious about those moments is not just the fact that you got people to listen to you. I think that that's a symptom of it. But to me, what's glorious about it is like the way that you felt when you did it, right? Like you were feeling so good, and then that stuff just started happening. But like really, it's that good feeling that we kind of crave, right? That we kind of, as guys, we love that. That's why we do things like sports, martial arts, mountain climbing, writing or anything that can just sort of lead us towards that feeling. That's what we crave. Anyway, look, what I call that is anticipated responses. And the guys who are very Jedi-like with women Okay? Remember we talked about, as I've said countless times this weekend, this stuff is not necessary to get a date. This is the advanced stuff. This is the stuff where, this is not necessary for your life, but rather as a hobbyist, if you as a hobbyist just love this area, like this is like your hobby and you're into it, and you just want to see how far you can take it, understanding how anticipated responses work is just one of those advanced level concepts if you love this stuff and you love social dynamics and you just want to take it to the fullest, all right? That's what I'm talking about. Now look, when we think about anticipated responses, another way of calling an anticipated response is an assumption. All right, guys? An anticipated response is the same thing as an assumption. So everyone has a certain reality of how they expect to be treated. So look, your assumptions and anticipated responses are your map of how you expect the world to respond to you, which includes, number one, whether a person of your status can expect to be treated badly or well. Number two, whether people are generally trustworthy or manipulative, friendly or mean. And number three, whether there's an abundancy or scarcity of people in the world who could like you. Now, I really want you guys to get into this. Really think about it, okay? You have a certain, this is it, man. This is like, we want to get down to the core of what natural game is. It really comes down to your anticipated responses and your sense of reality. So look at yourself very carefully. Give yourself a real thought about who you are in your reality. Ask yourself, do you like yourself? Like, do I like myself? Ask yourself that. Do I like myself? Ask yourself, would I hang out with somebody like myself? And you're like, oh yeah, man. All right. Would I hang out with somebody like myself? Ask yourself, if I saw a guy that looked like me with a really attractive girl, would I be like, what's that about? Or would I be like, of course he's with her? All right? Really think about this. And this is not just an inner game exercise, guys. This isn't like funky step number 6 to feeling really great, all right? This is like really getting down to the core of it. There's a certain concept, we call it when you believe that a girl can like you just for you. So do you guys remember I was talking about Tim when he'd come back from Europe? And he could walk up to a girl and be like, hello, my name's Tim. And the women could just see that it was within his reality that he anticipated that response from them. He anticipated the positive response that girls would like him just for him. I want you guys to slow down and think about all the ramifications that this has on every level, on all levels of your social interaction. Because this simple anticipated response is, you could make an argument, I don't know if this would be true, but you could definitely make a solid argument that this is everything. This is like the whole deal. Really think about it. First of all, can you guys see the difference between someone who anticipates people to like them just for them versus someone who doesn't?
Yeah.
What are some of the differences? Say that you're eating dinner with someone who doesn't expect people to like, he doesn't expect you, say you're just having dinner with a friend, all right? One of the reasons I'll use like friends or guys as an example is because I think that having general social skills will instantly translate with attractive women, so I don't want to make this all about attractive women. So let's say you're having dinner with a guy friend, okay? And he doesn't anticipate that you're going to like him just for him. What are some of the behaviors he might have? Cautious, sure. What else?
You might talk like non-stop during dinner.
Yes.
Just like trying to chill.
Speak up.
When you're just like trying to chill. Like you're just eating dinner and you're like, this is cool, you know, nice restaurant. It's quiet. And he'll just be like, dude, you know, blah, 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 blah.
Right? And what does he want to do? He wants to show you good things about himself, right? He wants to paint that picture of like his life to show you all the cool stuff that he's done. And that's not inherently bad. That's certainly not inherently bad, right? Because people like to share their lives. And I think if someone has cool things in their lives, I would love it if they share that with me. But at the same time, isn't there a difference between sharing your life and the good things about your life just as you're vibing versus when it's like that person has that feeling of lack inside and he needs you to understand that about him. He needs you to know those things about him before he can feel comfortable. Do you guys want to know one of the biggest pitfalls of becoming more high status? Yeah, when you're around people who know how high status you are, you feel totally at ease, you feel totally good. But when you go into an environment where people have no idea who you are, you feel this urge to try to show them things about yourself so that they can see how high status you are. Approval seeking, right? And once they know that you're that kind of person, then you're at ease. But until that happens, you're not at ease. And this is why when a guy walks up to a girl and he does not anticipate that the girl will like him just for him, he's walking up and he's where? In or out of his head? And what's he trying to process in his head?
What would she like most about me that I can convey?
Yep. Absolutely, right? How about, what's that?
He's not being who he is because he has to generate his behavior.
Yeah, he's not being who he is because he has to generate his behavior, right? And like, if you really think about it, on the first level, we will learn, like, the first sort of, like, unenlightened level would be like, oh, like, check out this watch, girl, and like, yeah, I got this fat car, girl, right? The second level, when we learn the game, we're like, look at this cool routine, right? Or like, look at this, like, funky thing about yourself I'm going to show you, right? And, hey, look, having a great car, telling a girl great stories is awesome, right? Showing girls cool things or having, like, great stories to tell is an awesome thing. There's nothing inherently wrong with it at all. But the question is, and this is the difference between the guys that are kind of, intermediate level success versus like the real pros. And I'm talking like the real pros who, as I've said over and over, getting girls is just an afterthought, right? The guys that have such an abundance of women in their life that even thinking about it is almost absurd because it's that abundant. For a guy who is on that level, he can approach, and sure, he can spit great stories or, the role plays or any of that kind of stuff if he wants or not. But at the same time, he's doing it from a place where it's just for fun as opposed to a place of lack. So you see, what a lot of guys are doing is they're like, if this is where it takes to feel good, that's the threshold, they're starting down here and they're trying to tell all their stories and stuff to get to there. As opposed to already being here and just trying to do it to build the vibe and to make it fun. All right? So that's a huge difference. Now look, what's interesting is that people are always doing things to cause their anticipated responses to come true. And isn't that ridiculous how that works? All right, so look. Question. Who is it easier to approach? A girl who believes that she's highly attractive, like a really attractive girl, or a girl who's not attractive? Who's generally going to respond better?
A girl that's highly attractive that believes it.
Mm-hmm. Why is that counterintuitive? What do most guys think?
They're attractive. The girl will appreciate you more is what they think.
Mm-hmm, right? You go for the girl who's less attractive. Hey man, isn't it simple? It's so simple. If she's down here and you're up here, then it's obvious that when you approach, she'll be so appreciative. She'll be like, wow, this guy who's so much more attractive than me. He came and talked to me. This is so cool. This is the jackpot. Yes. Okay? This is my lucky day. Right? Yeah. This is my lucky day. This awesome guy came and approached me. I'm so appreciative. Oh, tell me more about yourself. You're so awesome. No, that's not how it works, is it?
No.
What typically happens when you approach a girl who does not believe herself to be attractive?
Giant bitch shield. Or
right?
Severe blowout.
Okay? Severe blowout, giant bitch shield. Essentially, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, she thinks that you're toying with her.
Yeah.
She thinks that you are patronizing her. She thinks you have an agenda. So what does she do? Look, think back to when you guys were young. Okay? For any of you guys here who are not good at all with women at all, like completely incompetent, as was I, did you ever have a situation where maybe like a couple girls who were kind of hyper or something walk by and they're like, oh, you're cute. Did you guys ever have that?
Yeah.
And then you're like, did you ever do this? You're like, whatever. Did you guys ever do that?
Yeah.
I can remember doing that, where like, I'm not saying it happened often, because it might have happened about once every, maybe once every 2 years. But maybe, I'd be like 15 years old or, 17 years old, walking through the mall, and some girls would be like, oh, you're cute, or hey, that's a cool shirt. And I'd be like, whatever, right? Like, as if, like, oh yeah, you're just trying to like get with me, right? I know the deal, okay? Isn't that interesting that people who are insecure always have to verbalize it that they know the deal? Have you guys ever noticed that? Right? Like, I know what you're trying to do to me. Okay? Have you guys ever had girls who you come and you talk to, even if you're being totally genuine, and they're like, I know you're trying to pick me up. Or is that a pickup line? Yeah. Right? And like, they have to verbalize that. They can't just know it. Like, they can't just, like, even if you were trying to be manipulative, why couldn't they just know it and just be like, whatever, go on with their life? But they have to verbalize it to qualify themselves to you on some subtle level that they know the deal. All right? And That's a very common feature of somebody who, who has a sense of low self-esteem. But isn't that interesting? The girl whose anticipated response is that attractive guys won't like her will have these behaviors. What do? What do her behaviors do? They absolutely make her unattractive.
They want to sabotage it, basically.
Sabotages it?
Yeah.
What does it keep her reality intact, or does it mess the reality?
She doesn't believe it, so...
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It maintains her reality intact, right? That guys are big jerks, and that guys are, And my girlfriend has a friend like that who is always going out trying to meet guys. But whenever a cool guy comes along, she thinks she's being patronized, and so then she blows him off, and then she's just chronically single and can't meet a nice guy. If any women are watching this, what I would say is, if an attractive guy comes and talks to you, be receptive to it. Doesn't mean you have to necessarily sleep with him. Be receptive to it. Don't blow yourself out. Now look, how about guys? All right. In many ways, it's the same thing. Does anybody here have a friend that can never seal the deal? Right? Does anyone here have a friend who every single time that he gets a girl back to his house, he says that he wasn't in the mood or she wasn't hot enough? Anyone have that? Yeah. Has anyone here themselves done that?
Yes.
All right? A very good buddy of mine, when he was learning to be successful with women, he would, at first, now he's been doing very well, but at first, he would always get the girl home. And then I call him the next day and be like, so what happened last night? He's like, oh, dude, I was just so tired. I just wasn't feeling it. And it was always like that. Oh, she wasn't hot enough. There was always some kind of reason. And I have seen this kind of like fear of closing the deal thing, which, by the way, do women appreciate that? No. You think a woman appreciates it when she goes home with a guy and she's chosen you, and then you're like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to go ahead with this? In fact, most of the time, if you have a girl back to your place and she has chosen you and you don't act on it, what's going to happen?
It's over.
Done. Right? The window was open. If you don't jump through before it closes, it's going to close and you're out in the cold for life. All right? That's generally speaking how it works. In fact, all of us here have probably had a situation where we had a girl that we really liked, back up to your room, and then you say, I really like this one. I'm going to play it solid and I'm going to get to know her better. Right? Huh? Because you like her, right? You like her and you say, I'm going to treat her different than all those other girls that I got because she's special. So I'm going to isn't that a funny one? You think that when the girl's special, you're going to treat her different from all the other girls that you were successful with? Genius, huh? Aren't we geniuses? Right? Okay? That we do that? Like, that's kind of a funny one. Do you know what the first thing that I say when guys come? Because a lot of the time, guys that are really successful, all right? When a guy's really, really successful with women, typically, not always, but very, very commonly, he's being successful with women. He has an abundance of women in his life, but he has that desire to meet that one really cool girl. And he has this image in his mind that when he meets that amazing girl, that the way that the interaction is going to go is going to be more like like that movie with Ethan Hunt or whatever, Waiting for Sunrise or something. Do you guys know that one? Before Sunrise, where they have like these like long, drawn-out talks and stuff like that, and then like it just slowly escalates. And sometimes that can happen. In fact, I have a buddy whose entire game is like that, and he's really, really solid. Some guys, that's like their style. But you see a lot of guys that are really, really great with women. Like they're just great at making the party, making everyone have fun, and just hooking up just winds up being like this totally natural thing. But then they meet a girl they really like, and what do? They try to transform into Ethan Hunt. All right? They try to or Hawk, is it Ethan Hawke? Ethan Hawke, right? They try to transform into this like romantic hero that's going to like save the girl from an awful night of sex in their bedroom, right? And let her and like respect her and stuff like that. And the girls like, look, all that respect shit that we talk about, we just do that for you guys anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do you think that girls put up these fronts and these walls? Do they do that for themselves? No. It's for us. Right? It's because guys are stupid. It's because guys are like, ugh, if she had sex, quickly, then clearly she's not a quality girl. Right? That's just like, and that's that judgmental behavior. So as guys, because women know that guys are so stupidly judgmental and so full of double standards, they'll put that front on, all right, instead of just doing what they want. In fact, one of the most qualities that makes the best of the best, like the guys that are really, really phenomenal with women, is a complete air of non-judgmentalism. Like, no judgments. They know the deal. They understand how things work. They totally get it. And so a woman can feel at ease to have fun around you. All right? That's Absolutely one of the qualities that separates the great guys from the guys that are clueless. All right. How about a guy that assumes everyone is friendly? Has anyone here ever met someone, like known a guy, maybe a guy friend that you had, that just assumes that everyone in the world is his friend? Have you guys ever had a day where you just felt like everyone in the world was your friend, and you could talk to strangers and it was just totally cool? That's, again, an anticipated response. Somebody who believes that the entire world is a friendly place, he's going to have all these little behaviors. And what do those behaviors do?
They attract the friendly people, too.
Attract friendly people? Does it reinforce his reality?
Yeah.
Of course. People are always reinforcing their realities. In fact, you guys remember how when we talked about button pushing, we said that a girl who's really hot, if a guy shows no interest in her, she will start flirting with him to get him to show interest? Sure. Remember we spoke about that? Because someone disrupted her reality? Well, it's the same kind of thing. In many ways, girls have that quality where it's like, oh, what, that guy doesn't think I'm hot? And then she'll go and she'll flirt with him to get him to flirt back, reaffirm her reality, and then just get on with her night. So, look, all of this comes down to the simple fact that people are always trying to maintain their reality. They are trying to make their world make sense. Does anyone here have, is anyone here Mexican? Any Mexicans in the house? My girlfriend's Mexican. Yeah? All right, did your mom serve you tortillas growing up?
Yeah.
All right. Well, my girlfriend's mom is from Mexico, and she served a lot of tortillas. Her mom's hitting into her 60s now, and her doctor's telling her she needs to lose some weight. So the doctor says, don't serve tortillas. Right? Say that this mother has nourished her children with tortillas all growing up, right? And that's like a staple food in her diet. And her doctor says, don't do that. Think about what's going on there. Is she going to want to take on the new reality, or is she going to want to bury herself further into that reality?
Bury herself further.
Right? Most people are not willing to shake up their reality. All right? They're constantly trying to keep that reality the same. They don't want to take on the new bearings. They're constantly trying to reinforce their reality. Think of where you're doing this, guys. All right, look. Even if you take this program and you really believe in this program, and then you go out and you look at the world and you find an example of something that contradicts with this program, which inevitably you'll have to because the world is always shifting around. What a lot of people do, and this is as a teacher, I hate to see this, they say, no, but that has to go with that principle I learned at the blueprint. But you see, that's exactly what I'm trying to teach you guys not to do. Like, I could spend 4 years coming up with the most accurate maps that I can, but no matter how accurate the maps are, they're still not reality. A map is still a map. A map is not the terrain. So the thing is like, people are always trying to maintain their reality by seeing the world through a certain lens. Take the fucking lenses off, all right? Allow yourself to experience reality head on. Okay, I guess that's what I'm saying here. But be aware of how different people use these sort of anticipated responses. We're going to get into the pros and cons of this. We're going to go deeper. All right, so what is a self-fulfilling prophecy? I'll give a quick definition. A self-fulfilling prophecy is when by the strength of your beliefs, the reality that is stored up in your head becomes the reality of your actual life. Okay? This happens because your mind is always seeking out evidence, even if it's obscure, to reinforce your existing beliefs. And then because of the confidence that you have in those beliefs, you draw people into your reality and inadvertently get them to act in ways that you don't expect. So let's go back to the Denny's example. I walk into Denny's. I say, hey, is it open right now? He says, hey, it's closed. It's closed. I say, I know it's not closed. He says, it's closed. And I start getting angry, right? You remember I said I felt like I want to punch him in the face? Well, the thing is, what is he doing there? He has a certain reality, which is, what is that guy's reality?
Somebody's going to come in here and ask me if it's open, and I'm going to have to tell them it's closed.
Let's go even deeper than that. What is his reality about people and how they're going to treat him?
There's a lot of assholes out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of assholes out there, right? People are jerks. People are obnoxious. So even me, a guy like, where I'm like consciously studying how to like be a nice guy. Like I'm like making efforts to be a super nice guy as I can. And basically, even me, he's, by the strength of his beliefs. Remember how we talked about the person with the dominant reality wins? By the strength of his beliefs, he's inadvertently making me want to be a dick to him. All right? I kind of snapped myself out of it, but I felt that. Like I felt like I wanted to be a dick to him. So that's what a self-fulfilling prophecy is. How about victims? Somebody who believes that they're a victim and that people are out to abuse them. Think about the consequences of this. Think about the consequence of assuming that people in the world are negative and out to screw you over. What is that going to do? If you believe that the entire world is out to screw you over, that a lot of people are by nature untrustworthy, what's your life going to look like? You're going to suck people in to do that. This same belief goes for relationships, right? What happens when a guy thinks that his girlfriend's going to cheat on him all the time? She does, right? When you assume people are going to be disloyal, they'll be disloyal. That's why when we talked about, remember on the first day we talked about rationalization and about how it's good to understand that people are rationalizing creatures and that we're all rationalizing creatures. But at the same time, you can't have that kind of belief about people, because if you're always thinking that, people are going to do it. You're going to find evidence of it. You're going to motivate people to do that. So you have to, on one level, maybe know the deal, but on another level, you have to assume the best in people. So remember last night we said assume the best in other people? A lot of that's what it comes down to, all right? These are self-fulfilling prophecies. And a guy who's really amazing with women, what does he know how to do? He knows how to create a self-fulfilling prophecy where women love him to death. All right? He knows how to suck people into that reality. He has positive beliefs, sucks people into that reality. So look, when you approach a girl, you go up, you approach. If you fully believe that she's friendly, of course, there's a really, really, really high chance, like 95% plus chance, she's going to be super duper friendly. Look at the different mindsets that a lot of guys have. A lot of guys are like, oh, I've got to go up here and prove my worth, right? I've got to self-seek by this girl's response to me. I've got to get my validation from her. They're not even just assuming she's friendly. A guy that's really great with women, when he's walking up to a girl, it's like he's just walking up to a friend almost, in a certain respect. I mean, it's different, but there's a lot of similar elements in the sense he's just walking up talking to a friend. He's just assuming that she's friendly. So he's not even coming from that place, all right? He's not even coming from there whatsoever. And you can see that written all over people. You can absolutely see it written all over somebody who just assumes everyone will be their friend, and someone who doesn't. Have you guys noticed that in attractive girls at all? Yeah. When you see attractive girls, do you see how they, in their minds, they assume that whoever they walk up to will be like probably super friendly and probably will even supplicate them and do whatever they want?
Yeah.
All right.
So that's kind of like plowing through, where you assume that they're going to be your friend, just keep on talking until the hook.
Yep. That's it.
I have a question. How much does verbalizing this help? Like, say you want to adopt that belief, that actually walking up to a girl who maybe you don't even know if she's friendly or not, but you want to assume it. You just walk up to her and say, hey, you seem friendly. I wanted to meet you. My name is, right? Like,
do you know what that does? People always want to be congruent to their identity, right?
Right.
So, have you guys ever heard that in a relationship, one of the best ways to get your girlfriend to be an amazing girlfriend is to compliment her on qualities that she hasn't even cultivated yet?
Right.
Right? What do most guys do when their girlfriend acts like a bitch?
They call her out.
They say, you're a bitch, right? What if you just say, and you don't even do it sarcastically, I really love it when you're just, I really love it how, those moments when you're just really friendly, it's just really great, and that's what I really like about you. What does that do to someone's unconscious mind?
It makes
Gives them a good feeling.
Oh man, it's deep what it does.
The boot camps too.
That's entirely how I teach at boot camp on all level though. I don't just say, oh, I think you're great with women. When I'm teaching a boot camp, I treat you the same way I treat my buddies. 100%, all right? And see, the thing is, because when I'm with my buddies, we all do really well, right? So pull everyone up to my level. Now the thing is, the human mind. Stop and think about how the human mind works. Do you remember how I said on the first day when we spoke about identity, that your identity, you probably didn't come up with it all by yourself like you thought? Say that you were younger and you stepped up and tried to be a leader, right? And then everyone liked you for it. Your unconscious mind goes, ooh, look at that. I should become like a leader and then everybody will like me. Likewise, maybe you became like creative and you did well, like you drew a stick man when you were a little kid and then like your teacher was like, yay, you're really good. And then your mind goes, look, I get acceptance from that. If you're saying to your girlfriend, I really like it when you're really nice, what are you doing to her mind?
You're rewarding good behavior.
What if she hasn't even acted well though?
Well, then you're trying to reinforce it.
You're creating a new identity. You're creating an identity for her. You're basically shaping the identity that you want, right? You're shaping that identity. And this works in business. This works in all areas. On the other hand, sometimes you do have to call it bad behavior. It's a mix. It's called common sense. Everything is a mix. All right, so let's say that you think really well of yourself. All right? And you walk up. You're out. Key of controlling the frame. You guys all heard of frame control?
Yeah.
Frame control is like controlling the underlying meaning of reality. You guys heard of that? Yeah. All right. Say that you want to have frame control. So somebody comes up to you and he starts teasing you. All right? Somebody here. What's the most common tease that you get when people tool you? Do you have one? We all have one. Lazy. Okay, how about when you're out at a nightclub? Do you guys ever try to tool you?
Yeah. Smarty pants.
Okay, so say you get called smarty pants. All right? Okay. Awesome. Okay, so look. Someone's like, hey, smarty pants, right? Yeah. And there's two different ways that you could interpret that, right? When we talk about self-fulfilling prophecies. Two different ways. So way number one that a lot of people interpret it is that being called smarty pants, it makes them feel bad, right? They're like, I'm being condescended, right? And they're like, oh, okay. And then what happens? That little look in your eyes, in your pupils on some level, shows that you lost a little bit of state. Okay, your state went down a little bit. And so the person sees it, and they go, nailed him. Yep. I called him out, right? And then it reinforces the reality in those people's minds that they were correct. How about if you get called a smarty pants, and what I bet you probably do, just from what I know of you, you probably are like, oh, yeah, right? Okay, just don't care, do you? Yeah. You think it's fun, right? Yeah. Okay, so, and if you do that, and you treat it like it was a joke, what does it reinforce in the other people's minds who said it?
Doesn't care.
I was just joking.
Yeah.
Right? The same asshole, the same schoolyard bully type guy or whoever who comes by and tools you, he's like, hey, smarty pants, and you're like, ha ha ha, and you laugh about it, like not ha ha ha, but it's like a sincere laugh, not a weird sounding laugh. Yeah. If you're doing that, then in his mind, he's not going to say to himself, but I'm a big jerk and I was trying to condescend him. Right? And now everyone can see that I'm an incompetent jerk and that I'm not good at what I do. Right? I'm not effective at tooling people. He's not going to think that. He's going to think, I was just kidding. Right? He's going to rationalize that in his head as I was just kidding. Rather than accepting the fact that he's a dick and he was trying to condescend you and it didn't work because he's not strong enough, he says, I was just kidding. He's just a good old boy. All right?
Besides that, he also needs it to hit. Because if you don't accept it, then it really isn't a hit.
That's exactly it. It doesn't hit.
It's like you say something, I need to accept it. If I don't accept it, then you got this little moment where we're trying to, we're trying to get the reality to get into life.
Yep.
At some point, it just, one wins, and then it's over.
Yeah, stronger reality wins.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so see, that's the thing. And believe me, I get tooled excessively when I'm out. And sometimes I get tooled well, okay? Like, I have been mocked and tooled. Some of the stuff that has been thrown at me over the years has been so on point, like so piercingly on point and accurate, right? And I'm like, wow, that is mean. That's incredibly mean, okay? And it has taught me over the years to just kind of let it, like, water off of a duck's back. And the woman is looking to see whose reality is going to win out. So if guys are verbally sparring with each other, and the guy hits you with a really well-pointed jab, and in your mind you're like, that was quite clever, right? You're like, damn. You're like, ugh, okay. Actually, that's something that I do. When a guy hits me, you know how they say, it's almost like in martial arts, like someone hits you, just sort of go with it rather than trying to fight it. A lot of the time, if someone just disses me really on point, I'll like look, like they hit me hard, I just look at them, I'm like, like that, right? And I'm like, ugh, got me, all right? And then that's it. No shift in state. You guys see that? Yeah. As long as there's no shift in state, you don't need to win the verbal sparring match. All right? Say that the girl gives you a congruence test and she hits you hard, right? And you know how they say always have the better answer? Right? Like always have that clever comeback or whatever? Sometimes you don't. Right? So, look, it's really cool to have a great comeback, but sometimes you don't have a comeback. Yeah. Sometimes nothing's there, right? You look, you're like, here's my time for my comeback. Nothing there. So what do? Just called unreactive. Right? Just unreactive. All right? That's it. Really simple. You just allow it. all right? Basically, like, you know, you want to know when I really realized it? I was out with one of the guys who's a guy who's really well known for coining the term, always have a better answer. And I was watching him talking to a girl. And she threw a really good jab at him, right? Like a really hard-hitting congruence test. And he was just like, And he said, and he looked at her, and he was just like, you're crazy. All right? And it was like not even close to as clever as her line, right? At all. Like his comeback sucked, okay? But then he looks over at me and he's like, see? Always have the better answer. Like that. And I'm like, that wasn't the better answer. That wasn't, right? But he believed it was the better answer. Do you guys see that? Yeah. So he believed that it was the better answer.
His reality was stronger.
Yeah, his reality. See, he's like, man, I love having the better answer. Okay? It's like that delusional confidence, right? You may not have the better answer, but if you think that you had the better answer, you've got it. Okay? And in fact, if someone hits you with like a really hard congruence test, okay, do you guys remember when you were a school kid, right? And you had some you know how school kids like learn new swear words and stuff like that? Like you first learn the finger, or maybe like you first learn some new way to mock someone. And then you go up to the different kids and you use it, right? Being that kids are crazy. And then you go up to the one kid and you say it, and he throws something back at you. He's like, your mom, right? And your mind, you're like, but that's not as funny as mine. But you can't win. He's like, your mom, all right? Have you guys ever heard that? That's what Jeffy does sometimes, right? If Jeffy gets hit with a congruence test, he doesn't know how to answer. He's like, your mom. And that's like, it's like you just don't let it enter your reality, all right? Look, first of all, from this conversation, I don't want to impose some kind of reality here like the world is filled with congruence tests and everyone's out to shit test you. Have you guys ever seen the newbie at this stuff that thinks everything in the world is a shit test?
Yeah.
All right? Like everything's a shit test, okay? And I must dominate the reality all the time. And that's called a frame control addict. Has anyone here ever been a frame control addict or known a frame control addict? Okay? So that's a common thing. I'm not trying to push you guys in that direction. I'm just trying to show you guys about how the nature of self-fulfilling prophecies. So, like I said, you go up. Anything that you don't like in your reality, you don't have to acknowledge it. You only acknowledge the reality that you want, and then the self-fulfilling prophecy comes to exist.
Like Pepe Le Pew.
Like Pepe Le Pew, that's right. The same thing goes for scarcity and abundance. The same thing goes for relationships. If you assume, let's think of it this way. How would a self-fulfilling prophecy work in your relationship in terms of your girlfriend cheating on you? Say that you think, whatever, she's not going to cheat, right? So you don't get jealous. And then because you don't get jealous, you're a challenge. Say that you even have a girl who's constantly cheating on all her boyfriends, which is certainly not uncommon. Let's say that you have that. Now let's say that, unlike these other guys who get super jealous, you are completely secure with yourself, and you're completely secure with the relationship. All right. So you do that, and then now you're a challenge to her. So what happens when you're a challenge to a girl? What typically happens?
She pursues you.
She pursues you. Does she think about you a lot?
Yeah.
Have any of you guys here ever had a girlfriend who was so you were such a challenge to her just because you were so indifferent to the outcome that she like obsessed with you and talked about you with her friends all the time?
Yeah.
So say that your girlfriend's out and she's at some nightclub and there's all these way better looking and hotter and richer and more powerful guys than you. And they're all hitting on her, which is certainly in Los Angeles an inevitability no matter how great you are. And she's obsessing over you with her friends. Well, now that's not going to make any difference, is it? Meanwhile, if you're jealous, if you're like that jealous boyfriend and you're insecure, what have you done? You've given your power away. And so as a result, she feels like she has all your validation on all levels, and then some other cuter guy comes along and she's like, whatever, and then she goes and does it. Not only that, but she's like, what did she say? Well, he thinks I'm doing it anyway. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right? He's carved out an identity for me that he thinks that I'm doing this. I guess I might as well do it. All right? So again, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. By the way, as a quick counterexample to that, if I was discussing relationships more in depth, I would get more into this. At the same time, you do also have to establish boundaries, right? In a relationship, I remember my friend Hubi, he said, that's definitely true, but on another level, it's like you're on a straight path, and if the girl veers too far off the path, you do have to, kick her back on a little bit to keep her moving in the right direction. So it is, again, It's always a mix. It's never one way or the other. All right? So look, we see here how these kinds of self-fulfilling prophecies allow us to confirm our reality. And by the way, guys, if your girlfriend does go out and cheat on you, does it necessarily mean that it was your fault? It could just be her issue and not yours, even if you did do everything right. So don't take ownership of that.